We'll begin in Abuja, where the controversies surrounding the 2022 amended Electoral Act may have now been put to rest. This is happening on a day the Supreme Court struck out President Muhammadu Buhari and the Attorney General of the Federation suit challenging Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act. The suit filed on the 29th of April listed the National Assembly as a sole defendant. Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act states that no political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election. The Supreme Court held that President Buhari, having assented to the bill, cannot turn around to challenge same act. The Apex Court unanimously agreed that President Buhari lacks the jurisdiction to bring the suit before it because of the nature of the relief sought.
I cannot but to salute the courage, the industry of my noble lord for doing justice to this matter. Cases do come. We have filed our reaction, and my noble lords agree with our reactions to the point that this is not the kind of the matter that should be brought to the Supreme Court, particularly where the president happened to be the part of the maker of that law. You can't appropriate at the same time appropriating.
Supreme Courts have delivered their judgments, and being the apex court, everybody is bound by it. Unfortunately, the merit of the case was not determined. The objections of the defendant was upheld, where the first and second defendant were held not to have sufficient locus to bring the action and to invoke the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court on the matter.
Let's talk further about the 2022 amended Electoral Act and the Supreme Court's judgment. I have joining me at this time a legal practitioner, Monday Obani, who joins us live via Zoom from Lagos. What is the reaction to the judgment of the Supreme Court?
Yeah, my initial reaction is that this is a very correct interpretation by the Supreme Court of that particular case. Now, for you to invoke the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, the provision of the Constitution is very clear as to who. There must be a legal dispute between either the state and the federation, or between the federation and the state, or between the states, and of course, maybe any of the arm of the government. Now, if you remember that there was a primary objection that was filed by the National Assembly and also by, I think, the Nigerian Bar Association, and then, yes, by the Nigerian Bar Association. And their argument is that the president cannot, at this juncture, be a proper party because of the issue of relief that he's seeking, trying to now ask the Supreme Court to nullify a particular section in the Electoral Act, because this was an act that was consented to, that was assented to by the president himself. So the president cannot sue himself, because who is he quarreling with? What is the quarrel? What is the dispute that requires the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court? So I think the Supreme Court upheld the primary objection that was actually filed by both the National Assembly and by the Nigerian Bar Association, that who came in as an amicus curiae, as a friend of the court, that there is no legal dispute between the president and himself. The president cannot make a legal dispute between himself, because he was the one that assented to that Electoral Act, because the proper place would have been for him to go to the Federal High Court. Or if the proper party should be there, it should be those who are affected by Section 84, subsection 12. The president wasn't a victim of that particular section. So what is the legal dispute? What is the grievance? What is the legal relief he's seeking for in an act in which he assented? I think that is the reason why the Supreme Court rightly struck out the suit today.
Well, the Supreme Court has now spoken, and of course, this is binding on all parties. But how do you see this judgment impacts the democratic process here in Nigeria?
How do I see that judgment?
Yes, how does it impact the democratic process?
Well, the Supreme Court is the final court of the land. It goes to show that we have very much good hope, on our judicial system in resolving legal disputes. We were also very alarmed by that particular suit that was filed by the president. I think the president was clearly, wrongly advised by whoever would have probably asked the president to go to court over a particular matter in which he is the one that assented to it, a bill. He assented to it and it became law. And then he now started to ask that that bill be nullified based upon certain provisions of the constitution that he felt that is offended. So I don't understand it. But the most important thing is that the court has always been there as a reliable ally. One can run to at any point in time in order to get a correct interpretation of our enactment or any act of policy of the government. So it's the third arm of government that does that interpretation, and it's a good omen that we should be able to have some level of confidence, developed, towards the judiciary, who is there at any point in time to give us a correct perspective in terms of interpretation of our laws. That is actually what has played out with this judgment today.
All right. There's another matter that still appears to be in contention about the Electoral Act, and that is the issue of electronic voting. What is your stand on that?
I don't know who has gone to court over the electronic voting. It's very important that this Electoral Act that we have is very, very particular as issue of locals who should actually proceed to court on the issue of the Electoral Act that had just been passed. If you are not a party that is affected by any of the provisions of the Act directly, or you are not a contestant to any of the primaries or election, or the Act does not in any way have any direct impact on you, it's very difficult for you now to just rush to court and begin to ask for the nullification or for the interpretation of the Electoral Act. If you look at that particular Electoral Act, it has specific provision as to who has locus. So if anyone does not, remember what happened, played out in Umuahia, where a party who wasn't even affected, by the election or by any of the primaries, or who was even not a political appointee, went to court and obtained an order. And that order was nullified at the high federal, Court of Appeal, on the ground that the man who went to court had no locus. So it's important that people who are rushing to court on this Electoral Act must understand that they must look at the Act properly in order to see whether the Act has conferred them with jurisdiction to go to court. So if you don't have any right locus to go to court, you find out that at the end of the day, the court will throw out your case because of issue of lack of locus. So it's important that it's I'm not aware that somebody has gone to court on the issue of the electronic voting, but or transmission of results. But I think that it is a proper thing that has been done to us, with that particular provision. The election that took place in Ekiti, I think last week, we found out that by 8 o'clock, the results were all announced. Why was it possible? Because of the electronic transmission of results. Before every person could, count one or two, the results were already transmitted, to the base, and everyone knew what the results were. So it is an improvement. We must begin to, reduce the level of human interference in the electoral process, right, in order to guarantee the fairness of the process, which is what everyone is crying for. So whoever has gone to court, let the person be mindful whether he has locus.
All right, Mr. Monday Uban is a legal practitioner. He joined us from Lagos. Thank you for your time on TVC News at 7.
Thank you for having me.